Okay, now we're going to create what's called a rollover button. Let me show you my sample quickly, which you'll also see in eChalk. Command return. So it's just a regular button look, but when my mouse rolls over it, an animation occurs. So we're not actually going to navigate anywhere from this button. It's not going to actually click to start an animation. It's simply put your mouse over it, which is called a rollover, and an animation should occur. So to begin, we'll start a new file, ActionScript 3, ActionScript 3. Okay, and again, a button can look like anything you want. It can be text, it can be any picture, it can be anything you convert to a button symbol. I will simply call this roll over. And it would probably really help if I make it a color you could see. So let's change that to white or a gray. How about a gray? Okay, we have our button. And now you need to select the artwork, convert the artwork to a symbol. Again, it has to be a button symbol. Name your buttons appropriate to what you are doing so that if there are multiple buttons in your library, it's easy to know what they are. Click OK. We have a rollover button. While the button is selected, make sure you name it. Although we aren't actually putting any code in this time, if you get in the habit of naming the instance of your button when you are using code, you will have remembered to put the button name in. I'm just calling it rollover. I could do rollover underscore button. I could do BUTTON, or I could just do BTN to make it short and sweet. Now I want my button to show the whole time, so maybe I'm gonna put a regular frame just to hold that artwork. And again, label your layers. So right now, all I have is a button for rollover, does nothing, has no look, it's just there. I'm not going to need a second layer in the timeline for that animation. I'm going to build my animation on rollover inside the button. So we go into the edit mode, double click. We're now in the button edit mode. And I do want my button to hold while the animation occurs, so I will insert a keyframe to duplicate the original. And then I will add a new layer. So layer 1 is actually my button. Layer 2 is going to be the animation for that button. And the animation I want will only be occurring in the over state. In the up state, I just want people to see this button. But when I get to the over state, I want to have an animation occur. So we need a keyframe in the over state. Right now, there's only a blank keyframe in the up. We can either click and drag it, or we could have inserted an actual keyframe here. Either way. So we have a blank keyframe now on its own layer in the over state, and we're going to create another symbol. Now I created little bubbles that float. So to get started, all I need to do is create one piece of the art and convert it to a symbol. This symbol is not a button. Be sure you change this. It's a movie clip. We need to be able to get to a regular timeline to build the animation. So I'm calling it bubble. Click OK. So right now, if I were to look at this, command return, on rollover, that appears. But that's not enough. We're going to go into the edit state of the bubble. And now I have a normal timeline, and I'm just calling it bubble 1, and I'll have bubble 2 and bubble 3. Now you come up with your own. Don't just copy what I'm doing. I'm just demonstrating for you. So I'm going to stagger the start, like bubbles don't all float at the same pace. So I'm just going to give myself a keyframe to work with on each layer. So here's my first one, and let's say I want it to take 10 frames to float up. I'm going to insert another keyframe. So first keyframe keeps it down below the button. Next keyframe lets it float up. And I'm going to do a shape tween again. Now, bubble 2. Maybe I have a tiny bubble. Oh, that was too tiny. Okay, and again, I'm going to insert a keyframe and move it up. Keep in mind, I'm just staggering, and one last little bubble, maybe over here. That did not show up. Oh yeah, we'll do a long bubble. And I'll stagger again, F6. And we'll move it up. And maybe over here, and I will do another shape tween. So if I scrub the playhead back and forth, you see my bubbles. Command return button in the up state looks normal. When my mouse rolls over it, the bubbles float by. And that is how to put an animation in your button at the rollover state. So notice I'm in the bubble. Click on this. I'm back in the button setup and back to scene 1. We have one layer when you're done in scene 1 with a rollover button showing. If I'm in the rollover button edit mode, we'll see 2 layers with the button timeline. First layer simply needs up and over. You don't really need hit unless we were going to try to play something else with it. We'd need a hit state, or if we wanted to navigate, we'd want a hit state. But for this assignment, you just need up and over. Second layer is only occurring in over. You have to create a symbol, go into that edit mode, and we are scene 1, rollover and bubble. And that is how to make your rollover button with animation.